I'm here in Medjugorje in front of St. James Church, and I'm with, what's your name?
Tara,
Tara, where are you from?
Canada.
Canada. And you?
Emily,
Emily, where are you from, Emily?
Alberta, Canada.
Maybe you do a separate interview with you later. What do you think?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
So we do with you first.
Sure.
And you said how many times you came to Medjugorje?
This is my third time.
Third time. Why do you come back all these times?
Oh, because it's peaceful
Mhm.
and I grow closer to the Lord every time I come here.
Mm-hmm.
So Mary's here and it's peaceful, and I guess we're all searching for being closer to the Lord every day.
Yeah.
And Medjugorje is a special place of peace
Mm-hmm.
and much messages that Mary is leading us in our world. And every time I come, I go home bringing more graces home to my family and to those I come in contact with.
You always have been a Catholic, or?
No, I am a convert. When I was 21, I became Catholic after I was married, and I always felt called by God my whole life. Yeah.
What were you before? Like Protestant?
Nothing. My parents raised. My dad was Roman Catholic. My mom was LDS. She was Mormon,
Uh-huh.
and we were raised not going to any church
Mm-hmm.
and not raised with any faith.
And you said when you became married, you became Catholic.
Yes.
And you said you feel at home now being in a Catholic church?
Oh,
or?
absolutely. I'm
Why
at
is
home.
that? Why is that so? Can you
I
explain to
prayed-
somebody?
I prayed lots about where God wanted me because when I told my dad I want to become Catholic, he said that I needed to basically discern and wait till I got married because he lived a marriage that had two different faiths and it ended up in divorce. And so he really had impressioned on me that I needed to be sure about what faith I was going to join. And what if my husband was a Jewish man? How do you live a marriage being two different faiths?
Yeah.
And so I kept praying about it, and I would search out other faiths, and I realized Christianity was for me. But I would go to church with my grandmother, and when I saw everybody lining up to get the Eucharist, now that I understand what that is, at the time, I was told I could not have it. And I had felt so drawn to the Eucharist because I knew it was something special. And I wanted it from that day forward since I was a child, and I experienced that. And so then later on, I had told my dad again that I wanted to become Catholic, and he again said I needed to wait. And I had asked my grandmother, I'd gone and lived with her in her hometown for a little while. And she would always play with these beads in her hand when we would go to Mass. And I asked her what these beads were when we come home. And she said, "Have you never done a Hail Mary?" And I said, "No." She says, "Well, it's a rosary. Do you mean to tell me your dad hasn't taught you what a rosary is and what a Hail Mary is?" And I said, "No, I have no idea." Interesting. And that's all I got from her. And then as time passed on, I kept feeling drawn, and I started to pray about where the Lord wanted me and where did you want me, Lord? And I actually had also kind of wanted to be a sister. I wanted to be a nun. I had this longing to be part of the church that way. But then when I had met my future husband, he was a Catholic, and we hit it off well, and we saw eye to eye about who God was and what we wanted a family, if we were to have family, and what that would look like. And so when he proposed, I had spoke with the priest about becoming Catholic before I was married, because I really wanted that, but he had said no because he felt it was rushed. But little did he know I had taken about 6 years discerning that. But then I said okay, and then after I was married, I then was pregnant with my eldest son, and the new priest had said okay that he would run an RCIA class. And so I had done my first year, and I got baptized, confirmed, and First Communion on the Easter before my oldest son was born.
Unbelievable.
And
did you marry in the church, Catholic church?
We did, and
That's possible. Yeah?
he wasn't going to give us a full mass because I wasn't Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
But I had begged him. I wanted a full mass, and because I felt it was very important to have a full mass. I wanted as much of God's blessing in our marriage as possible.
So beautiful,
right?
You touched me.
So then I had my child after I was Catholic. So I guess you could say I'm 27 years a Catholic.
Wow.
Yes.
That means 28 years kind of married, no?
28 years, yeah. In April will be 29 years that we'll be married. So.
And but what you tell people, 28-year marriage, it's a long time. What would you tell people about the marriage, about the experience, about a Catholic marriage?
My experience of a Catholic marriage, and I think the biggest thing about marriage is not what you can get from the person you marry, but what you can do for the person you marry, and not to take a toll of how much you put into the marriage and don't measure how much you put in and how much they don't put in. It's about how much you can give, because that, I believe, is what Jesus did for us. He gave his whole life to us, and I think that's what we are to do for our spouses, even though it's hard to be unselfish. But yes. I think that's a huge secret, because whatever vocation you are, be it a sister or a brother or a priest or married or a single life, we have to give of ourselves fully, and that's without reservation. Yeah, I think we have to give of ourselves.
Oh,
fully.
Unbelievable. And you knew in your heart that, because you said you wanted to be a nun, maybe?
Yes.
When you met your husband, you knew it?
I knew it. It just felt right. I felt like this is where God wanted me. Absolutely. In the faith, and in this marriage, and we have 5 children, and we have 5 grandchildren, and our 3 oldest are married in the church, and I'm proud to say they go to Mass often. I'm not saying necessarily every Sunday, but they have an understanding of the faith, and they love their faith, and some struggle like everybody else, and our other daughter is seeing a Catholic boy, and I think she's preparing for marriage in her heart, and
wow,
yeah,
beautiful.
So, and we have our youngest 10-year-old.
It's behind, hiding behind.
Who we had
That's
9
okay.
years later. We had her 9 years after our last.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Surprise, no? Kind of 9 years after?
Yeah, 9 years after. God said, here you go.
Here you go again.
Yes. Yeah, she keeps us young.
Yes.
Yeah.
No? And you said you saw your grandmother who prayed the Rosary. How is the Rosary for you now? To have
the Rosary is it's a work in progress for me. For sure. I would lie if I said it came completely natural. But my devotion to Mary is because I had a mother who was an alcoholic, and so I guess for me, Mary was the example I didn't have as a child. And she taught me grace, and she taught me love, and
especially here in Medjugorje, or all the journey.
I think so. I think in Medjugorje, especially my last time when I came with a pilgrimage with Immaculée, she wrote the book Left to Tell, and so we came as a group. And I really had this question about whether we honor Mary too much, more than Jesus, and
what would you tell people? A lot of people on the channel, they say, what are you doing? You are heretics. Really, they write this. You are like, now I asked are you Protestants? I mean, they're Protestants.
Right, I have lots of Protestant friends, and I guess what I came home with was that Mary's not in a different place than Jesus. She's in heaven with Jesus and our Lord, God the Father. They're all one. Not that she's a god. She's not a god. She's the mother, just as if my daughter comes to me and says, Mom, can I go play? And I say, yes, you can go play. But then her father will say, I don't think it's safe. Then I say, okay, your father says it's not safe for you.
Mm-hmm.
So I am an advocate for the father who's the head of the household, just like God's the head of the household. And so Mary is that, it's not that she's separate from God.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my realization when I came in September to Medjugorje, that she's not different and she's not separate. She's not God, but she's definitely our advocate for us. And she teaches me grace,
Mm-hmm.
and she teaches me how to love unconditionally.
Mm-hmm.
She teaches us a lot,
She teaches me, yeah.
right?
Yes.
So, but I think it's okay for people, Catholics, to question that. I think we're meant to.
Yes,
I
God
think
loves an open, honest heart.
I think
Huh?
it's important that we question it and make sure that we're always keeping a good evaluation of how much power she has, how much she gives,
Mm-hmm.
and how much is God. And all due to God, we give to God.
What would you tell as a woman? You know, they say, why don't you go directly to Jesus? You have an advocate, you go to Jesus and he will talk to God the Father. What would you tell them?
Because
What
Mary
is wrong?
teaches me how to be a mom. And when my children were little, quite often I tell my children this, being mothers and my daughter-in-laws, we worry as moms. Is my baby going to wake up? Is my baby going to be okay in the night? And that is a mother's first heartbreak when they wake up and they find their baby gone. But I needed sleep. I needed to be restful for the next day.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just ask Our Lady to nudge me and wake me if I needed to be woken up.
Wow, so beautiful.
And so I could trust her and Jesus would be in the room with my baby.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just visualize her there with my child. And that would give me rest.
Wow, beautiful.
So trust in her too, you
Mhm.
know, and her intercession for us as well.
You go to the to do how to say the confession. You do confession.
I do. I didn't today because I felt like I needed more time. My husband just went to confession, and yes, yeah.
How would you explain? Maybe somebody now listen to the video, a Catholic, and say, "Wow, this was inspiring. I want to go to church, but I need to go to confession first." And they're scared. They say, "Well, what will the priest think of me? I haven't been for a long time."
First
What
of
would you
all,
tell
priests have told me they don't remember any of your sins.
them?
They don't remember any of it. They're there just being the hands and feet, the heart of Jesus, and they are giving. You know, they were given the power by Jesus when he said, "What you bound on earth, you bound in heaven, and what you loosen on earth, you loosen in heaven." Our priests are direct line from Jesus.
Apostolic succession.
Yeah, and they're just there being his hands and feet, just like any other missionary, you know.
Beautiful.
And so it's about the graces that you get. Sure, you can sit at home and ask for forgiveness on your own in your own conversation, but that when you're being absolved, it's the graces that you're getting at the same time. It's a purification of your soul that I believe you receive when you know, our priests, Our Lady tells us that our priests are our shepherds, and they're there to lead us. They're our fathers. They're there to lead us, just like Abraham led the people.
Wow,
you know?
unbelievable, how beautiful. And at the end, what would you tell people, maybe what's for you the most beautiful place here in Medjugorje? What do you like most about this place? And what would you tell people? Why should they come here, maybe? What comes from the heart?
Her messages,
Mm-hmm.
like, and the grace that you receive coming, and yeah, just the love. When I was here in September, I just couldn't believe how much it felt like heaven on earth. You know, this is the closest we get to heaven in a sense. We can go to Mass, and we're all going to Mass. We're all looking for the same thing, right? And then when you see lots of priests and sisters walking around, I just like, wow, we don't get this at home where we are in Canada. We have a lack of the vocations other than marriages. So yeah, it's like heaven on earth here, and I urge anybody and everybody who feel lost in some way, and even those who just want to increase their faith or just want to get deeper, that they can come to Medjugorje. It's a beautiful place for sure.
Thank you so much for this
Beautiful
interview. It was beautiful. Thank you.
You never know who you stop, hey?
It's fantastic. This was beautiful, touching.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.